President Trump's first White House meeting with South Korea's newly elected President Moon came with a message for North Korean leader Kim Jong-un.
The era of strategic patience with the North Korean regime has failed. Many years and it's failed. And frankly, that patience is over.
But now what? How does the Trump administration intend to stop North Korea's rapidly accelerating effort to build a missile and a nuclear warhead that could hit the United States?
We're working closely with South Korea and Japan, as well as partners around the world, on a range of diplomatic, security, and economic measures to protect our allies and our own citizens from this menace known as North Korea.
The U.S. military remains on alert, watching for any hint of a missile launch or even another underground nuclear test. Trump initially leaned on China to help stop North Korea's weapons testing.
The relationship developed by President Xi and myself, I think, is outstanding.
Pressuring Chinese President Xi to use his influence with Kim, but that appears to have changed. The Trump administration issued new sanctions against a Chinese bank for allegedly helping North Korea. Then, hours later, announced a massive U.S. arms sale to Taiwan, which China views as a renegade province. Beijing is furious.
The U.S. arms sale to Taiwan has seriously violated international law and basic principles of international relations.
With diplomacy uncertain, U.S. military options for North Korea have recently been updated.
The threat is much more immediate now. The president has directed us to prepare a range of options, including a military option, which nobody wants to take.
But a U.S. military strike could trigger catastrophe.
I think that if the U.S. chose to strike North Korea in any way, we would most likely see an immediate North Korean response. That could take different forms. It could be a counterattack on South Korea. It could be another cyber attack. And Kim Jong-un, feeling as emboldened as he does, would likely react in a very strong way.
If you live in the Western world like North America or Europe or any other Western country, then you've most likely heard of Kim Jong-un and North Korea, the missile tests and all this kind of thing that's going on, basically war propaganda that is coming out of the West as usual. The mainstream media loves to play this up, and I am of the opinion that places like CNN, NBC, Fox News, CBS, ABC, PBS, even up here in Canada, CBC and others, I do not believe a word that they say anymore. I believe we are being played like crazy. And now this video is more conjecture than anything. I just really want to state some opinions as to what I believe is going on here. And possibly we are being shown something that seemingly is being played out in reality. But I believe this has been shown many times in movies and TV shows, comic books, cartoons, what have you. So in my opinion, the fact that stuff like North Korea or all kinds of war propaganda, stuff about being ready for the Russians and all this kind of thing, I believe this has been going on for a long time. And because it is being played out in the media now, because we have been programmed for this from many years back, which I will show you movies even back as far as the 80s. I'm sure there are a lot more back in the day that spoke about North Korea, but anyways, I'm going to show you some movies from back then that pretty much played up the whole North Korea craziness already. Now, of course, this is a picture of Trump. There's a good old article from CNN. You know, CNN has been proven to be fake news big time, and so I don't believe anything that they say. Of course, they love to play up this North Korea lately with Trump urging action on North Korea in a meeting with China's president. This is from July the 8th, so not that long ago. And so we've got President Trump has long said China is a linchpin to solving North Korea's saber rattling with missile tests. Now, you know, in the clip that you just saw at the beginning, which I believe was CNN, Trump Trump, to me, doesn't even look worried. He doesn't, it seems like you'd have to like bloody pull hair or pull teeth for them to get them to cry or get them to show some kind of emotion. It just seems all like it's all nonsense and all stage. At least that's my opinion. I don't see someone that is concerned really that something really big is going to happen. We constantly keep showing or get shown these missile tests that North Korea is supposedly doing. Now, I'm not saying that there's not bad things about this country. I'm not saying that they're possibly oppressing their own people. Of course, I don't live there, and many of you also don't live there. But what I am saying is that if North Korea is such a closed country, then how the heck does CNN get footage of these kinds of things, or all the other mainstream media? To me, it seems like a lot of it is just fake. They could be showing you whatever the heck they want to show you, because people, if they see it on TV, then they most likely believe it. How many remember Wernher von Braun and the testimony of Dr. Carol Rosin, how she laid out the plan that von Braun explained to her before he died, that the whole world is going to be played, that they're going to come up with nations of concern, they're going to come up with terrorism, they're going to come up with asteroids, and the last final card, the aliens, all this kind of thing, that the elites, and of course Wernher von Braun was one of the elites, very high up in the Illuminati, a Freemason from the Nazi regime that came over to start NASA and all kinds of things. So really the world, in my opinion, is very much being played. Of course, the Russian threat has been going on for decades now. They had people literally seeing Russians in their soup. Basically, that was a line I got from the last Indiana Jones movie, because of all the propaganda that the Russians are coming, and all this kind of thing. So people already have something to blame if a catastrophic event happens, like Russia. Now, funny, when you Google nations of concern, you get right away an article on Wikipedia about particular countries of concern. Interesting that even China is on here, but go figure, we've got North Korea on there, as we also have Iran. And anyways, really the country I really want to show you is this North Korea is already on the nations of concern. So same kind of thing that Wernher von Braun spoke of, and what is going on in our day and age. Now, if we take a look at some of the movies, now I'm just going to show you a few movies and even a TV show, but not even that much, to show that this North Korea has been mentioned many times. If you go back to a movie from 2006, which was the very first Transformers movie, the live action one, there was a scene here with John Voight and Rachel Taylor, the Australian girl, and she was talking about quantum computing, but the army people were all going, oh, North Korea, they're ramping up their weapons. Oh, our satellite imagery is showing North Korea. So already North Korea is being mentioned way back in 2006, so they want to get that little seed in your head there. Then there was a movie way back from 1984 called Red Dawn. It starred Patrick Swayze, and it was all about the dawn of World War III, and it was about basically people that were defending their country or defending America from invading Soviet forces. Okay, so from 84 we've got the war propaganda for the Soviets. That's being planted into our heads from many years ago. Interestingly enough, in 2012 they did another Red Dawn movie. This time it was a group of teenagers looked to save their town from an invasion of North Korean soldiers. So it's funny how they're playing these two countries. The first one from 84 was about Soviet forces that Americans are defending their country on. Then in 2012 it's North Korean forces that America is defending against. So what is up with that? Yet again, the Russians, the North Koreans, all the same kind of propaganda. There was also another movie back in 2005 called Stealth. It starred Jessica Biel and some other good actors like Jamie Foxx, and I can't remember the name of the other main actor, but there was a scene where Jessica Biel, they were fighter pilots, and she had to eject herself, and where does she land? In North Korea. And of course she gets chased. They show North Korea as this horrible place, and they're trying to kill her and shoot her down and all this kind of thing. Then she got rescued later on, but yet again showing North Korea as some savage, horrible place. And so the same kind of propaganda. Now, there was a very, very interesting TV show that came out in 2006 called Jericho. I only heard about this recently from some amazing friends and brothers and sisters in Yahuwah. And when I watched this TV show, I was floored by what they were showing. They basically had nukes that went off in 23 cities, and it was constantly mentioned throughout the show that it happened in September. Go figure. The infamous September is when possibly another attack is going to happen. This time it was 23 cities that were nuked. Apparently there was supposed to be a 24th city, but one of the cities got thwarted for the bomb to go off. But it was a very interesting show. They also showed EMPs that also went off and knocked out the power. And go figure, North Korea was also mentioned in this TV show as being responsible for what was going on. But the funny thing is that later on in the show, they only did 2 seasons, and they actually shortened the second season because I believe they were showing way too much information. They didn't want to give it away. But funny is that they pretty much showed in the end that it was America, the government, that was doing this to its own people. So very, very interesting. I would encourage you to watch this show. It is very clean. It's a great show, very entertaining. But go figure that they showed America doing it to its own people. This same kind of propaganda, tons of predictive programming that is going on. And of course, another propaganda piece called The Interview with Seth Rogen and James Franco. It was about an interview that they set up with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Now, why would they come out with a movie seemingly featuring Kim Jong-un, the current dictator of North Korea? So I believe they are really planting these things in our heads big time, so that people have something to blame once the false flag attacks do happen, just like we saw in Jericho. Again, I would encourage you to watch it. They definitely blame North Korea, so that when the attacks happen, they will blame terrorism, they will blame the Soviets, people will blame the North Koreans, what have you. The same kind of thing we saw in Red Dawn, this supposed attack that comes from North Korea. So, you know, we are being definitely prepared. And just as we spoke about CNN, they constantly talk about North Korea on the CNN broadcast. I'm sure Fox News does, I'm sure ABC News does, I'm sure NBC News does. All of the mainstream media plays up this North Korea and attacks and nukes and all the same kind of rhetoric that is coming out of the mainstream media. Honestly, you should just switch your TV off, because the news is full of garbage. In my opinion, it is such garbage. They are really playing this kind of stuff up, because CNN has already been proven many times to be fake. They show footage that's not even real. Great channels like Russian Vids or ODD TV, even Scariest Movie Ever, they really expose these mainstream media channels. So I would encourage you to check out their channels. But really, CNN is nothing but fake garbage, in my opinion. You know, they really played up Saddam Hussein. Many of you will remember good old Saddam. Now, I'm not saying he wasn't possibly a maniac and a dictator. He possibly did very bad things to his own people, but they really played him up as some kind of horrible person. And the same thing they did to Bashar al-Assad, same kind of thing, where they played him up as well to be some person that was attacking his own people and doing all kinds of crazy things. But same thing with even Iran, that there's constantly rhetoric about Iran and all these kinds of things that they love to put in the media to get these into our heads, that if there's some kind of bomb or attack, then it could possibly any of these. People will have many options to choose from, whether it's the Russians, whether it's the Syrians, whether it's the Iranians, and of course whether it's the North Koreans. So, you know, what is going on really? Why do they keep putting these things into the mainstream media? I believe that there is something, or actually honestly a very obvious reason, at least in my opinion. There is a very, very obvious reason, and you can always tell when you follow the money. Okay, look at this article right from 2017, this year, that there's only 3 countries left without a Rothschild central bank. I wonder what those countries are. Now, back in the year 2000, there were about 6. Then, as we keep going, in the year 2003, there were about 5. Now, until lately, there's only 3. Look at the 2 that were on the list: North Korea and Iran. and they constantly love to play Iran as this horrible place. They love to play North Korea as this horrible place. And now it's funny that these are the 2 out of 3 that do not have a Rothschild bank. Now, I'm pretty sure that even Syria and Iraq also did not have a Rothschild bank, which is probably why Saddam Hussein was played up as such a crazy maniac, which is why also Bashar al-Assad was also played up in the same way. Then they bombed those countries like crazy and did all kinds of horrible things. But funny thing is, when you look at the banks that are owned and controlled by the Rothschilds family as of 2013, the list just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. So you would think that they would be satisfied with all the money that they're already raking in, but oh no, they want to have every single country under their gun, under their thumb. They want to control the money. They want to keep raking in the money. And of course, North Korea and Iran are just not playing ball with the Rothschilds. So I don't know about you, but I sense a false flag coming. I sense a major attack coming in order for them to go after these countries, just like they did to go after the oil in Iran and Iraq with the whole weapons of mass destruction back after 9/11 and that kind of nonsense. I believe the same thing is coming yet again, and they have to play it up. They have to put these things in the media. They have to play Kim Jong-un as a crazy dictator. They have to keep playing up Iran as, you know, all these maniacs that are over there. They have to keep talking about Bashar al-Assad and what's going on in Syria. They have to keep showing Saddam Hussein, or at least what was going on in Iraq. They show ISIS and how they're controlling Iraq and Mosul, or not all of Iraq, but they put these people out there as these crazy maniacs, but really there is something fishy about all of these things. And of course, North Korea is yet another one that they are trying to play up. You know, you got to wonder, where does CNN get their footage? I really don't believe they're getting any real footage. It's already been proven that CNN doesn't even have people on the ground, yet they love to make people believe that they have all these people on the ground, but that's just not true. So if you look at scripture, it already confirms it right from 1 Thessalonians 5 and verse 3. Many of you know this verse already. It says that, for when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them as labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape. The word of Yahuwah has already prophesied about these things. Abba Yahweh knows the end from the beginning. In fact, he created the end from the beginning. He knew what mankind was going to do. These disgusting elites being inspired by the devil, they are controlling this world so that they can prepare everything for the final false Messiah who is coming very, very soon. And they need people to believe in all of these things so that they can launch possibly the mother lode of false flag attacks. Something big is going to happen, possibly like we saw in the TV show Jericho. 23 cities or more could possibly be nuked, or something big like that is going to happen. They are putting this in the movies and TV shows for a very long time now, so don't be surprised if something big happens. So all of this rhetoric that we hear about North Korea, I believe that possibly it is all for the purpose to plant something in the minds of the general population, whether it's about Russia, whether it's about Iran, whether it's about Syria, whether it's about Iraq, and now North Korea. This is all the same thing that Wernher von Braun laid out many years ago. And so I wouldn't be surprised if a major false flag is coming, if they're going to show some kind of staged invasion. And, you know, I honestly believe, it's my opinion, that every single world leader is just playing a role. You know, whether North Korea and Iran and these countries that seemingly are rogue nations or are seemingly doing horrible things to the people. I'm not saying that horrible things aren't happening in their country, but yet again, you know, we have horrible things happening right here in North America. So who are we to judge? We cannot point the finger. Even Yahusha said himself that how can we, if we see the speck in our brother's eye, but we can't see the plank coming out of our own eye. You know, we as North Americans are very famous for looking and passing judgment onto others when we need to be looking at ourselves. But again, that doesn't mean that North Korea and Iran and some of these places are doing bad things. All I'm saying is that we are one to talk, and I believe that all of this propaganda is definitely leading to something, so that people will have basically a scapegoat to blame. Now again, this is my opinion. This video was more conjecture. I leave it up to you as to make up your own mind, to do your own research, but as always, be aware of what is being shown to us in plain sight. Abba Yahuwah bless you.
We are not your enemies, because you too are victims. Victims of an American culture in which greed, irresponsibility, and fraud were openly encouraged. Victims of a corrupt government in bed with the tyrants of Wall Street. It is our sincerest belief that with the right leadership and with your support, this country will rise again. Better, morally superior to what was here before. But we need your help. We have teams of engineers ready to restore power and utilities. But we cannot provide these things until the situation stabilizes. We must all arouse political consciousness.
Son of a bitch.
What?
The guy sitting behind the show, he's Russian.
Are you serious?
The blue beret means he's Spetsnaz, Russian special forces.
What was his specialty?
Counterinsurgency for starters.
Are they here because of us?
Well, if they are, they're a little late.
You gotta get out of here. Some shit's about to happen.
So the collective states can rise again and stand united again. We are here to facilitate this important objective.
Okay, 90 seconds.
Social and economic conditions. Now, regular curfews will commence tonight. They're designed to preserve the social order.
Daryl. Okay?
Yeah.
But full compliance is mandatory, no exceptions. The regulatory board has suspended all visiting hours. But the United so, with your well-being in mind, we ask for your cooperation in bringing these cowardly, Wolverine terrorists to justice.
Blow it!
It's not time
Blow it now! Hold your fire! You're not engaged!
Vous êtes à Orléans!